from the Gospel according to Matthew. 6 days later, Jesus took Peter along with James and his brother John and led them up on a high mountain by themselves. Jesus was transfigured before their very eyes. His face became as dazzling as the sun, his clothes as radiant as light. Suddenly, Moses and Elijah appeared and were conversing with Jesus. Peter said, "Teacher, how good that we are here. With your permission, I will erect 3 booths here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." Peter was still speaking when suddenly a bright cloud overshadowed them. Out of the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my beloved own, on whom my favor rests. Listen." When they heard this, the disciples fell forward on the ground, overcome with fear. Jesus came up to them, laid his hand on them, and said, "Get up, friends. Do not be afraid." When they looked up, they did not see anyone but Jesus. As they went back down the mountain, Jesus ordered them, "Do not tell anyone of the vision until the day of resurrection." The good news of our salvation spoken through Matthew. Good morning, my dear spirit friends. My name is Ruth Cioni. I've been a member of this faith community for nearly 5 years, something like 1,789 days. I counted because, in the reading with Abraham and Sarah, they had some fantastic numbers for ages and lives during that time. So I thought, wow, I'm going to be up there with them. Last Sunday, so let me go back. I just said for nearly 5 years, and I really want to state this, that I am grateful for all that I have been given at Spirit, and through being here, through the Spirit, I'm very grateful. Last Sunday, Mary Loris announced in her homily some very good news. She said, "The Sundays of Lent do not count as part of the 40 days. Let's have fun." At least that's what I heard. Today, I'm here to announce that this Sunday, we're going to the movies. The first reading is straight from a Cecil B. DeMille movie, The 10 Commandments. The second features Nelson Mandela, the lead role in the film The Long Walk to Freedom. And Matthew's Gospel, to me, is definitely the big show, the waited-for sequel to the Old Testament. In the readings, I found recurring words and phrases pertaining to God communicating with his people. The Holy One said, a voice said, and listen. There are themes of transition, transformation, and of course, transfiguration. The reading from Genesis marks a transition, a dramatic transition in the Old Testament. The Holy One tells Abram and Sarai, his wife, who was barren, to leave their old life and leave their families and go to a land that would be shown to them. They are promised by the Holy One that they will become a great nation and will be blessed and protected. Abram and Sarai with faith, listen and go as directed. Fast forwarding past many of the challenges they experiences, we hear that they are blessed at an old age with a child, which means that their lineage will be passed on, and the new nation grew. Their identities are transformed and their names reflect this. Abram becomes Abraham, which means father of a crowd or of multitudes. Sarai becomes Sarah, which means princess. Who is a princess? A daughter of royalty. Is this the inheritance of those who listen and act as the Spirit directs? Preparing for this homily, I talked with Kathy Hain because I have a difficult times with sometimes how the Bible says someone heard a voice from a burning bush, or there was a voice that came out of a cloud. And I said to her, do you hear the voice of God? In about 2 seconds, she said yes, and told the story of when she was a social worker, and she would run into clients that had big things depending on them to be accomplished, like keeping their jobs and following child protection or the courts, and their cars would break down, or they couldn't afford the repairs, and they could be in big trouble. Their lives could have gone really in a very bad direction. She saw this over and over. I saw it when I was a social worker, and it was a very helpless feeling. Kathy kept hearing that someone should do something about it. Someone should be doing something about it. And then one day she realized God was talking to her, and that she was that someone. And how scary that can be when you go, like, now what? So what happened is, many of you know, she made huge changes in her life. She eventually left social work. She went to Dunwoody and learned about automotives. And in 2013, she helped open, as many of you assisted her, the Lift Garage, which of course is operational today as a nonprofit. This helped me so much because I relaxed into that I have heard the voice of God. And sometimes mine is, it's kind of in an ordinary, kind of down-to-earth way that I go, oh no, I'll think I'm supposed to do something, then I back up, and then I go, I'm not going to do it, and then I think I'm going to do something, and then I back up. This happened to me in January 2016, drove my friends nuts, because I was trying to decide if I was going to go to South Africa for the first time. And finally, I went. And then I came back to realize that that trip was transformative for me. As many of you know, Travel Now could probably be my middle name. But I have learned so much about myself from that, and that I am hearing the voice of God. I'm going to talk about Nelson Mandela, because that's where I became most acquainted with him. In his lifetime, he lived out the words of God is not interested in our slavishly keeping laws or following correct ritual. God is interested in our stretching out our hands to one another and restoring people to health and community. When apartheid imposed its ugly, cruel self in 1948 on South Africa, Nelson Mandela and other brave people fought back, broke laws, and broke from correct ritual. Many died. He was arrested, charged as a terrorist, and the judge declared that death was too good for him. And and sentenced him to a life of imprisonment on the barren Robben Island. Nelson began to listen to a different voice of God. And after many brutal years and extreme pressure from the world, the government of apartheid sought Nelson Mandela's help and ended apartheid in 1990. Nelson would not negotiate with them until they freed every prisoner on the island. So brave, so in touch with what was the right thing to do. His identity also changed from guerrilla warfare fighter to the leader of peaceful conflict resolution through nonviolent action, which now many people embrace, from inferior non-white, as blacks were called, to non-white prisoner, to president of the African National Congress, to recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize in 2016. Many Africans affectionately call him Mandiba. Henry calls him Saint Mandela. I have a lingering sense of shame as I tell you that when I was a senior in high school, I saw the strange word apartheid in the magazine. It didn't apply to me. And that was that. When Nelson Mandela was awarded the Peace Prize, I was aware of him. But again, it didn't apply to me. In 2016, when I did go to South Africa with Henry, our first stop was in Johannesburg, was at the Apartheid Museum. And the scales were lifted from my eyes. My transformation began. It applied to me. I found it scary to consider talking about the transformation. To me, it seemed too big to be true, and too big for me to expound on. I read various sources and learned that it's considered to be one of the chief miracles in the gospel, and that it's unique. I never thought of this. It is unique, and that this miracle happens to Jesus. Christian scholars say that it's a pivotal moment, and the setting on the mount is presented as the point where human nature meets God, with Jesus as the connecting point. Moses and Elijah were historically major messengers of God, and the transfiguration of Jesus shows that to the apostle and to us that Jesus is the voice of God par excellence, and that we should listen to him. Okay, heavy stuff for me. I do better when I listen to the words and to my heart. I had a conversation with Tony and talked about this, and some of mine that I thought were pretty puny ideas. And he said, you're right, the story of the transformation is a big show in the Gospels, because they wanted to show and establish clearly that this guy knows that Jesus was also actually God. This makes sense to me. He said that my ideas on how to recognize and identify the presence of God in our own life is the transfiguration also. I want to tell two stories. Years and years ago, I went to Springfield, Massachusetts to see my sister's new baby. He was about 2 months old, and I was talking in what I call auntie talk to him. You know, oh, you're so cute, you're so nice little baby. And when his eyes and face instantly lit up when our eyes met, and they kind of just locked. And it was such a joyous moment that I can still see it. And when I returned home, I shared this experience with my women's group, and I said, when he lit up, I saw pure love. And the therapist said, as did he. It was a transformative moment that I'll never forget. The second story starts in my first trip to Africa. A group of us were kicking back at a quiet resort in Malawi. I barely knew Henry when I traveled with him. I just didn't, I was too little. But I found myself saying to him, Henry, there's something about you. Something about you, but I can't find the words for it. And then the words came to me, and I said, you're Christ-like. And he just smiled. About a year and a half ago, I felt this again in an interaction with him. And I said, I'm seeing the Christ in you again. And this time he answered and said, Ruth, isn't that what we're all called to do? Memorable and transfiguring moment for me. With that, I will yield to you, my beloved community, to share with us or among yourselves when you've heard the voice of God and how you've responded, and when you've seen the face of God and how it changed you and brought hope. What do you say? Amen.